This is your master pants pattern. So let's get everything together before we get started. Please make sure you print off the PDF of the little worksheet because we're going to fill that in. You obviously need your pattern, the big pattern. We're going to use pattern-ease to make the pattern from, thread to match your fabric, a tape measure, scissors. I like Kai scissors. If you want to use a rotary cutter, please choose Kai as well because they're wonderful. Pen or pencil to draw your pattern with, straight pins, tape. You want to use needles. Now, you need to use universal needles for this project. I like Schmetz. I think they're the best on the market. Please make sure that you check out the denim needles if you're going to work with denim. You need a pattern weight, glue stick, elastic of your choice, and a yardstick, and we're ready to go. I'm going to measure Barbara. And hi, Barbara.
Hi, Judy.
You know what? There's not many friends that would let you measure them on camera and then tape it as well, right? Yeah. So I'm going to measure Barbara for the pants. Now, we all agree, everybody agrees around the country, because Barbara goes with me a lot to classes. We all agree that pants are the hardest garment to fit. And they are because they're personal. You know how you like that to feel against your body. I'm not in the pants with you, so you have to determine that. But we have to start with numbers. This has absolutely nothing to do with your fit, because the fit is in the fabric. But we have to take numbers to start with. So you really only need 4 of them. I'm going to measure Barbara, and I'm going to fill in this PDF. Now make sure that you print this off so that you can work on this before you start working on your pattern-ease. So Barbara's waist is 37. Tummy is 45. Now notice I'm not doing any half inches, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. Fullest part of her hip is 46. And I need length. Now, you can do this a couple of ways if you're doing this to yourself. And believe me, you can do this to yourself. Stand in front of a mirror and you can see the number. You can put the tape measure around yourself and hold your finger there. But when it comes to the length, you need to go from your waist to the floor. And the easiest way to do it is to use a retractable tape measure, because you can stand on that little end and pull it up and see the exact length. But I'm going to do this on her. If you've got somebody at home, they can measure this too. So I need you to just turn sideways, and you're going to hold that right at your waist. Now, let's talk just a bit about this. Some of you like to wear your pants low. I don't care where you wear your pants. I still need to know where your actual waist is, because we're making a fitting pattern to begin with. So make sure you hold it right at your waist. Even if your waist is up here, it doesn't matter, but hold it at your waist. Now hang on. When I go to the floor, she measures 40 inches, okay? Now, she has shoes on, but you can do this without shoes on, that's fine. Anything that's left over, we're going to take it off. So if you look at Barbara's number, her waist is 37. I'm going to make it 38, because the pattern is done in even numbers. It's a lot easier to take it in than it is to let it out. It's easy with her hip, because her hip is going to be 46. I measured her tummy and I measured her hip. So whatever is the largest, that's the number that you need to use. And then what you need to use is, I'm going to add 4 inches to her pant length. Now, this chart, this chart is on this paper. So fill in the chart. You'll notice on the left-hand side, that's what she actually measured. On the right-hand side are the measurements I'm going to use to draw the pattern. So those are really important. So let's go over some of the issues, and then we'll draw the pattern. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to draw the pattern for Barbara on the worksheet. If you're working on your own, you want to draw it on the worksheet first. It's a little bit easier for you to transfer these drawings to your big master pattern. So let's draw on the worksheet, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. Now, Barbara's hips measurement were 46. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw between A and B on the 46 line. Then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to find her waist, and her waist was 38. So I'm literally just going to connect those two. Now, I want you to notice, I'll turn this around. I want you to notice that line is not curved. That line is really almost kind of straight, because most of us women, maybe not Dolly Parton, but most of us women, really, you want this to skim your body. You don't want it to hug your body like this or to stick out. So this is really kind of almost like a straight line. So let's just say that your waist was 22 and your hips were 42. You would basically just marry those two lines. But I always start drawing between A and B, because that's basically where your hip is. So I'm not going down into the leg, because we'll do that when we do it on the big pattern. So I said that her hip was 46, so I'm going to go over here in the middle, and I'm going to find the size 46, and it's going to look like that. Now that's the front of her pattern. Now let's draw the back. There is no magic in the front of the pattern. It all happens on the back. So we're going to do this on the back. Now I am going to go back one more time. I'm going to add 1 inch to the top of Barbara's pattern. She really doesn't need it, but I want it there so that you all can see that it doesn't matter how much you add up here. We're going to take it off in just a second. So let's go to the back, and we already know that we want to add 1 inch to the top. And I'll turn that around and show you that. Then I'm going to start A and B, 46, come up to the 38, and marry the two, like that. Then I'm going to go to the inside leg, and this is 46. And then I'm going to go to the second line just like this. Okay, now that's a basic pattern. Now we need to do some alterations. Barbara has a little tummy, so I need to add for that tummy, and I'm going to add right here for the tummy. So let's talk about issues while we're talking about issues, because issues on pants, this is what's going to make them fit better. There are really basically 2 or 3 different issues for you to solve when you're making pants. First of all, if you own a tummy, and it tells you this right here on your PDF, right here, if you own a tummy, if you have a tummy, even if you're not sure if you have a tummy, if you think you do, we're going to add to the crotch shelf. This part right here is, let me do it in red. I think it'll show up better. This part is the crotch. This is on the back only. We're not doing anything on the front. This is for the back only. Now this is the crotch, okay? So this part of the crotch is called a crotch shelf. That's what goes around your buns to give you enough room for these pants to hang straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to that crotch shelf, and on Barbara, I'm going to add 1 inch, because you can remove it if you don't need it. So let me draw this like this, and then I'll turn this back around and show you what I just did. So I've added 1 inch to the crotch shelf and then tapered back into the leg very quickly. You don't want to make the leg wide all the way down. We're not trying to widen the leg. You're only trying to get a little bit more crotch shelf. Now the other alteration is a butt lift. That's for any of you who've lost it. And if you look, I hate to say this, at most older men, they no longer have a rear end. We joke it all comes out here. But if you have that issue, and there are a lot of women that really don't have any rear end, I'm going to do a butt lift. I am not going to do a butt lift on Barbara, but I'm going to do a butt lift, and I'm going to show you how you're going to do that. Now we'll do the green. On your pattern, you're going to see notches. At the bottom of the notches, you're going to draw a straight line over to your size. You're going to measure down 1/2 inch, and all this is on your PDFs, by the way. And you're going to draw another line that goes just like that. Then you're going to fold and scotch tape that line to that line, tape it together, and that's going to bring the whole leg up, which will give your butt a lot more definition. Now, because you took a chunk out of your crotch, which doesn't even sound comfortable, we need to add it back in again. So I'm going to go back up here at the top and add that 1/2 inch right back in. Now let's talk about ladies that are very full in their rear end, but you wind up with little puddles of fabric right where the bottom of your butt is. If that happens to you, no matter what you're doing, you need a butt lift, but you need it lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down from this line right here that I drew. I'll draw that back in red. like that. I'm gonna draw that line, and then I'm gonna measure down 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna draw a new line. Measure down 1/2 inch and draw that line that goes like that, and that's your new butt lift. So let me erase this one. Okay? Now, the reason you do that is those little puddles of fabric are caused because it has to go around your cheeks, and then that's where the fabric wants to hang out, basically. So we need to get it out, and the way you do it is by literally pinching and pulling it up. You will be amazed what a butt lift does for your pants, so you can try it. Now, this is only in the pattern. Do not do this to your pants. This is only in the pattern. If you are unsure if you need one or not, don't do it to your first pair, because I told you your first pair is going to be a practice pair. So those are the two major alterations. When we get into the pattern a little bit more, or when we get into drawing the pattern, I'm going to show you how to widen or narrow the legs. That's an easy thing to do. But these two are the most important. Now, did you notice that I did not take a crotch depth on Barbara? This is a question people ask me all the time. Well, I was taught to take the tape measure and put it around me like this, or I was taught to sit on a chair and I'd take the tape measure and measure to the chair. Doesn't work. It plain old does not work. There is no measurement alive that can measure your crotch depth. The reason being, it's personal. I don't know how far up you like your pants to be or how far down you like your pants to be. That is a choice of you in the fabric itself. That is not a measurement of any sorts. So don't get hung up on that, because when we get to the end of this, I'm going to show you how to do crotch depth, and it has nothing to do with a tape measure. So let's get started on drawing the pattern. Now, we drew Barbara's measurements on our little paper, so all I'm going to do is transfer it to the big pattern. And I suggest you do that for yourself as well, because it just makes everything easier. You have a guide to go by. Now, I have laid the patternese, which I absolutely love. You can order that on my website. I've laid the patternese on top of the pattern because I'm actually going to draw the pattern out. The very first line, and by the way, on the pattern it tells you step 1, step 2, step 3, and all. So on the very first thing that I'm going to do, and this is step 1, is you're going to draw the grain and crease line down the center of the pattern, and you're going to follow exactly what that line looks like. And then you're going to draw in that arrow. Reason being, if we have to go back and alter anything on the pattern, all you have to do is line it up to the arrow, and it makes your life a whole lot easier. So that's the very first line that you're going to draw. When you draw that line, let me tell you that in case the phone rings or you get distracted, you can always line your pattern back up on that line. So the second thing I'm going to do is to measure her length. Now, on the paper, she measured 40 inches. I'm going to make her pattern 44 inches. And it says right here, measure from here down for the pant length. Read the pattern, because that's where you measure. So I'm going to go from that line down and make a mark, and then add 8 inches to it because I need 44 inches. Then I'm going to go over to this line, make a mark at 36, and go down and add 8 inches. All right? Now, if you notice, I am off of the pattern. There are two reasons that I'm off of the pattern. That is all the bigger the paper came. That's all the bigger the paper came. And all of the fashion in pants is down here. So I'm going to show you in just a bit how you can change the look of that. So that's the first two lines that you're going to draw. So let me draw this line in. So that's step 1 and step 2. Step 3, connect the line. So I'm going all the way down here to the bottom. Now this is going to sound a little crazy because we're going to taper the leg before we go up here and draw the hip area. So this is the first thing that we're going to do. Now, I know Barbara, so I know how wide she likes her pants. So I'm going to go out 4.5 inches. And it says on the pattern, go anywhere from 4 to 5 inches. That's totally up to you. If you have a pair of pants that you love, go measure them, and then you're going to know the width of the leg. So I'm going to go out 4.5 inches for Barbara on either side of that grain and crease line. Then I'm going to draw a straight line, and I'm going to draw that straight line 4 inches up, because that's what I added to Barbara's measurement. So straight line 4 inches up, straight line 4 inches up. like this. Okay? Then what I'm going to do, I'll make sure that you write the word front on there. And make sure you write 5/8 inch seam allowance. If you purchased my top pattern, you remembered that that was a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but pants are 5/8 inch seam allowance. So now I've drawn the bottom of my pants, okay? This extra down here is really extra because if you pull your pants up, pull them up, they're going to get shorter and shorter. So we may need some of this extra. We may not need it, and we can cut it off if we don't need it. But I want you to have it before you start. Do you remember I suggested adding 1 inch to the top of Barbara's pattern? So now we're going to actually draw the hip measurement in, and we're going to draw between the lines A and B. And I'm going to draw the line on 46 like that. I'm going to go up here and find her waist, which is 38. And there's that 1 inch that I added to the top. Now when I add it to the top, it's literally added to the top of the pattern. Not from this line. This line is approximately, and that's different on everybody else, but it's approximately your waistline. So I'm adding 1 inch to Barbara just so we make sure we have enough that's comfortable. Now I need to connect that line with that line. I'm doing it with marker. I suggest you do it with pencil the first time if you've never done this before. But I'm just going to marry those two. So I like to do it just like that. All right? Again, I want you to notice that's kind of a straight line. All right? Now I'm going to come down into the leg a little bit like this. And this part of the pattern, all of the lines kind of start going in together. So you want to come down until they're pretty good together, and you can see it's about right here. Then take your yardstick, put your pen or pencil right here on that 4 inch. You can see this is that 4 inch mark. Put your pencil there, and then just pivot the yardstick until it goes right back into the leg. That's the inside, the outside of the leg. That's how easy that is. Then we're going to go over here, and we're going to draw the 46. Now it says right on the pattern, hip measurements. The pattern is basically designed for your hip, not your waist. So this is your hip measurement, not your waist measurement. So I'm going to come down here and follow all the way out until I get to the 46. Then I'm going to draw down here. And again, I'm going to go down about as far as all those lines come together. This is that 4 inch mark again. Put your pen or pencil there. And then pivot the yardstick until it goes back into the leg, and that's how easy it is to draw the front of the pattern. Now let's do the back. Okay, now let's draw the back of the pattern. So again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to draw in our grain and crease line just like we did on the front. That's step number 1. When you draw the grain and crease line, make sure you add in the little arrow point, all right? Now this is the back of the pants. So we still need to do exactly the same thing. We're going to measure down from that line, and it says right there, measure from this line down for your pant length, 36, and then I'm going to add 8 more inches because Barbara needs 44. Let me pull this up just a pinch. And again, measure down, 36, add 8 inches more, and draw a line. Now I'm going to connect those two lines. I'm going to move this Scotch tape up here because I'm going to need it in just a minute. I'm going to draw those two lines and connect them. Okay? So let's go down here and we're going to connect that line to the bottom. And we're going to do exactly the same thing we did on the front. We're going to finish the bottom of the pants first. So do you remember that on the front we used 4.5 inches for the width of Barbara's pants leg? 4.5 inches. Now while I'm back here, let me tell you, if you decided to make, say, palazzo pants, which are bigger legs, anything you do on both sides of the grain line, but always at the bottom and taper into the top. So if you wanted to make palazzo pants, you would go all the way out here to 7 inches on both sides and then taper back in, and that's going to give you a much wider leg. For dress pants, don't go any bigger than 5 inches because that's a pretty big leg. You can go all the way down, if you're tiny, to maybe even 3.5, but I wouldn't go any further than that. Again, that's a really, really tapered leg. Go measure a pair of your pants that you like. Now remember that we added 4 inches to the top of Barbara's length, so I'm going to draw a straight line. And the reason I do a straight line is because you need to taper to this point, not this point. So that's the reason we draw this first. Everything gets tapered to this point because this is likely, more than anything, gravy. You probably won't even use it. So if you taper to that point, your pant taper leg is going to be off. So that's the reason we draw that 4 inches there, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in the darts. Now, we are going to make these pants pull on, but right after we finish making them pull on, I'm going to show you how to change that and make them with a zipper. So when you do anything that has a zipper in it, you need to have darts in the back of your pants. So go ahead and draw the darts. Why are there 2 darts? Well, there are a lot of women that are really kind of, first of all, there are a lot of women that are really narrow across their back. And they may have little pudges right here on the side. I got mine from, donuts. Anyway, they may have little pudges, and that dart just kind of smooths that out and goes over those little pudges that you have. So I'm going to draw the 46 between A and B. I'm going to come up here and find the 38, and that's where the 38 is, and then I'm going to marry the 2, like this. Now you remember that I said that I was going to add 1 inch to the top of Barbara's pattern. This is the line right here that I'm adding that 1 inch to, not this line. This is the waistline. This is the top of the pattern. So I'm going to come up here and mark 1 inch, and come up here and mark 1 inch. And then I'm going to draw that line in. Like that. Okay? And then I'm going to go add this right to the top of the pants. And I'm going to go fill in the center. Now, if you notice on the pants pattern, there are notches. And you need to draw those notches in because you need those notches. You need to know the front from the back of your pants. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I got to tell you, when you start trying these on, you might get them turned around, but we need to make sure that we know the front from the back. So not only draw the notches on your pattern, cut the notches on your fabric. So I'm going to find this 46 again and come down like this. And I'm going to come all the way around like this and come down into the leg. Now I'm going to do a couple of things to show you while I have this laying here on the table, because this is basically the hip area of the pattern. So let's just say that Barbara did need a butt lift. She would draw a line from the bottom of the notches, and I'm going to do this in green, over to her size, measure down 1/2 inch, like this, and draw another line that would go like this at an angle. Now that's the butt lift. So what I'm going to do is I took a chunk out of the crotch, so I'm going to go back up here and add it back in again because it has to be equal when we start. And I will draw this at an angle over to the side seam. Just like that. So that would be our butt lift. After I cut this whole thing out, I will show you how I'm going to Scotch tape that. But let's just say that Barbara needed a lower butt lift. I'm going to go back to my blue and show you that. Remember I told you to draw that line at the bottom of your notches, but this time what we're going to do is I'm going to measure down that 1.5 inch that we talked about. So come down here like this and measure that 1.5 inch, like that. Then you're going to draw that line. Now the reason being again is if your rear end is lower, a lot of ladies, if you look sideways, they're flat here, and then their rear end doesn't start to stick out until much lower. That would be a lower rear end. So that's the reason we want to take that butt lift to get rid of any of those gathers. You know, what I'm going to suggest you do is go put on a pair of pants that you love right now and get a mirror and look in the back and see. This is not written in stone or anything like that. These are just tweaks that we're doing to make your pants more comfortable and to make your pants look better. So again, I would measure down that 1/2 inch and I would draw the same kind of dart. Only it would just be lower than that one. It's the only difference in it. Okay? So let's go back and draw the rest of our pattern in. Let me go back 1 second. Let's just say that you had to add to your pattern. And if you look on here, the largest size in the hip is 52. Let's just say that you had to add 1 inch because you needed that inch. Remember, there's a 1/2 inch between each sizes. So if you had to add add 1 inch to this, you would add that inch between A and B. Then let's just say that you needed to add to your waistline as well. And let's just say you had to add that for the inch. So let me show you. I would absolutely add to the top of the pattern. Come down like this. Connect those two. And then you need to get back down into the leg. So that's how you add the extra for larger hips. Smaller hips, I'm going to suggest you don't ever take this in any more than the smallest is a 32-inch hip with a 22-inch waist. Most of your preteens probably will fit in this. What you could do if you wanted to make it for somebody really smaller, is cut the smallest size and then use 1 inch seam allowance as opposed to 5/8. But this is not made for children, so don't try to make these pants for children because it's not made for them. So now let's go down into the leg, and again we're going to go down into this area where it all comes together. Now this is Barbara's, so I'm going to X this out so that you all don't get confused. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did on the front. I'm going to put my pin in here and I'm going to pivot the yardstick until it goes right back into the leg. I'm going to put my pin in here and I'm going to pivot until it goes right back into the leg, and that is the back of the pants with a 5/8 inch seam. Easy? Easy. So let's cut this out and then I'll show you how to do the butt lift. Now if you need the butt lift done, remember I said Barbara doesn't, but if you need the butt lift done, the first thing that you're going to do is to fold on the line that you drew, fold it up to the second line like this, and you're going to nothingness, and this is what you're going to Scotch tape. Now I always laugh when I see people Scotch tape. They do this. No, you want a Scotch tape. You want a long piece of tape. You don't want that to go anywhere while you're cutting this out of fabric. So make sure that it's Scotch taped down really, really well. Now, I told you that Barbara doesn't need it, so I'm going to remove the Scotch tape and show you insurance. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. I had a lady at retreat one time, and she made her pants. She came out of the bathroom, had them on, and she had this big wad of fabric right in the front. And I looked at her and I said, do you have your pants on backwards? And she said, no. And I said, are you sure? And she said, oh yeah. Well, sure enough, she didn't, because she had cut the notches out, so we were fine with that. So then I said, do me a favor, let's try to take some of that fullness out. And so we did, and finally, it wasn't working at all. So I said, go take your pants apart and bring them back to me. And I want to show you what she did, because this is what I call insurance. It's on the directions for sewing the pants together. When you cut out your front and your back, now you would do your butt lift first if that's what you were going to do to the pants. And when you put your front and back together, the first thing you're going to do is to line up the side seams right up here at the top. Let me pull this down so you can see exactly where the top of the pattern is. Right here, okay? Then you're going to go to the crotch points. See the points? And line them up there. Now those two lines are important. Let me show you what she did. She had one crotch up there and one crotch down there. So when she sewed this together like this, you wind up with this big old bulge. And that's what happened to her. So you want to make sure that this is even before you ever put scissors to fabric. So let me pull this up here and show you the next step. When I do these together like this, I want to make sure that my pants are even across the bottom, because you're going to sew those together. So I don't have this even, so let me take my scissors and just whack off a little piece and even them up. Now you're ready to cut out a fabric. Now, this obviously is not Barbara's pattern, but we're going to use this as a sample. I have the master front and the master back. I'm going to lay one on top of the other. Some of you that are very thin can lay one next to each other. Most of your fabrics you're going to work with are 60 inches wide. So we're going to pretend the table is my fabric. This is the folded edge of my fabric. This is the selvage edge of my fabric. So I have them laid this way. You must make sure, must make sure that these legs are on grain. If your legs are not on grain, they're going to twist. And I get questions all the time about what did I do wrong, what did I do this, and it's all right here. You've got to make sure the legs are on grain. So what I'm going to do is you drew that line with that arrow on your pattern. I'm going to measure from the fold of the fabric or the selvage, I don't care which, to that grain line. Right now I'm getting 9 inches there. Then I'm going to fold it here, or measure it here from the fold to the grain line. Once I have it 9 inches or whatever inches you're using all the way up and down that line, put your weight on it. That's ready to cut out. Now let's do the back. Again, I'm going to go 9 inches from the fold and go up here. And I'm going to go 9 inches from the fold. Now let me show you that this is not 9 inches, right? So I'm going to pull it over here until it is. I don't care how funny any of this looks. This is the most important part of your pants, to make sure they are cut on grain. Now you're ready to cut out. Please notice that I've used pattern weights. I don't like you pinning your pattern to your fabric. The weights act much better. Now you have your pattern and you're ready to cut out your fabric. Let's talk about fabric just a little bit. First of all, this is a practice pair of pants. So if you're a quilter, you have lots and lots of cotton at home. Use that. Doesn't matter if one leg is out of one piece and one leg's out of another. This is a practice. Don't use muslin. There's no fabric like muslin, so if you're going to fit muslin, you're going to be in trouble when you take it into other kinds of fabrics. So you can choose any kind of cotton. It can be a print or whatever it is that you want to use. You can use my favorite, and my favorite is called menswear wool. I love menswear wool, and I love it because it doesn't wrinkle. A lot of people get really unnerved when I say the word wool. Wool is a natural fabric, so menswear wool breathes. I'm the hottest person I know, and I wear it all summer. So look for menswear wool. All you have to do is Google it, and you'll find it in all the stores. If you want to make a pair of knit pants, this is Sophia. This is my favorite knit. You can buy that at Vogue Fabrics. Go on my website, go down to the bottom, click on Vogue Fabrics. It will take you right there, and you'll see some of my favorite fabrics. So Sophia would be a knit. I don't want you to use a knit the first time, unless that's the only thing you ever wear in your whole entire life is knits. Then go right ahead and do it. But I'd really rather you make one out of cotton fabric, any cotton fabric that you choose. So after we do this, then what we're going to do is we're going to cut out our fabric. And I like to cut it out and then serge around the edges. I don't like you to use a serger to sew your pants together, because pants have the most stress of anything you'll ever wear. I like that 5/8 inch seam allowance in there for some more support. So do cut it out, and then I go around all of the edges with the serger. Okay? So you can see that I have my two backs laying here on the table, and you can see that the crotches are kissing. This is really important. You want to make sure you have a right and a left leg. And the only way to do this is to lay it down just like this. So I have the two backs laid on the table. I'm going to take the two fronts and lay them right on top like this. And I'm going to the side seam first, so that's the most important seam. Right side to right side like this. And then we're ready to sew the pants together. Now let's sew these together. When you sew my pants pattern together, start at the top and go to the bottom. Start at the top of the crotch and go to the bottom. Always in that direction. And one of the things I'm going to show you is how to sew pants together without using pins. And I'd love for you to try this just one time. The way I'm suggesting, if you don't like it, go back to your pinning. You pin fabric all the way up and down to hold the edges together so they don't slide. how fast do you think you sew? You don't sew from there to there in 2 seconds. So what you're going to do is to put your needle in, and this pin is going to act like my needle. So I'm going to put that pin in there. That would be the needle of your sewing machine. Go to the bottom of your pants and you want to pull slightly. I'm not stretching, I'm just pulling so that these two edges stay even. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather it in my left hand like this and like this. And as you sew, you let it out, line up the edges, let it out, line up the edges, let it out, let it out, let it out. And that requires absolutely no pinning whatsoever. Now when you do the inside leg seam, same thing. I'm going to line up the two crotches like this. I'm going to put the pin in place like this. I'm going to pick up both legs. Now, can you see that the back has a little bit more curve than the front? That's okay. Put the edges together like this and pull, and those edges will stay even. You're going to sew from the crotch point all the way to the bottom of your pants, and then you're ready to try them on. So let me go over that one more time. You're going to sew the outside leg seam, the inside leg seam, the outside leg seam, and the inside leg seam, and then we're ready to sew the U shape. You've put one leg inside the other, and I would suggest go ahead and press your seam allowances open. It's going to be easier for you to fit yourself. You're going to put one leg inside the other, and you're going to sew in a U shape. Now, I'm going to draw this with chalk so you can see it just a little bit better because I've already sewn this. I don't care if you start at the front and go to the back or start in the back and go to the front. It really doesn't matter. So you're going to sew a U shape. Once you've sewn that together, you have your pants all sewn up, and they are going to look like this. Now you can see that my pants have been creased. My little pants have been creased. If you want to crease yours, that's fine. The way you crease your pants is to do one leg at a time, fold it with the seam allowances together like this, and then press a crease in it. But that's up to you. You can leave it uncreased while we're doing the fitting. So the next step is to fit them. Now we've sewn the outside leg seam of both front, right and left side. We've sewn the inside leg seam, and we've sewn the U shape of the crotch. Now it's time to put the pants on, but this is very important. This is a piece of draw cord elastic. You can use any elastic that you like. I like the draw cord because it allows you to have a little bit more ease in your pants. But I want to show you how to measure this draw cord because it's not done with a tape measure. It's done with this around you. So you're going to stretch it around the fullest part of you because that's what you have to pull it over. Once you're happy with what you have stretched out, put it around your waist to see that it's comfortable because you don't want to have it really too tight around your waist. Then what you're going to do is to put the two ends together like this, and you're going to zigzag that shut so that you have a circle of elastic. And then you're going to put your pants on and put the elastic over the top. And that's what Barbara has on. So I'm going to let you stand up here, my dear. Thank you very much. And you can see how much fabric she has left. And you can also see that these pants are just a little too big on her. But I'm going to let you turn all the way around to the back. I've got her on this little stool. See that little thing sticking out? We don't want that. So you need to pull these up until they look great all the way around. Now, while she's in the back, I want to show you something that's too big for her. Barbara is like a lot of you. You're just tiny across the center back. You can take this up in the center back seam very easily, and I'll show you how much nicer those pants look. Don't they look great? So that's a really simple fix to do. Also, when you're looking at the back, this is where your darts would go if you're going to make pants with a waistband on it, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So I'm going to let you turn back around just very carefully. Thank you. The width of her leg was great, but down the side she wants these a little bit snugger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this for her, and then I'm going to show you how to transfer those pin marks to the inside of your pants. So I'm only going to pin just a little bit, and then we'll take them off and I'll show you. Now, never ever put your pants on inside out. I know it sounds like a really great idea, but you fit the opposite side of your body. So let's don't do that. Now turn around, let's check the front of this. And see this stuff right here, going on right here? When I pull this out on the side and take a larger side seam, Can you see how that's going to make that lay perfectly flat? So we'll come back and I'll show them how to transfer those markings. Now remember where I put the pins in on Barbara? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the pants inside out. I can feel where those pins are. And if you take a piece of chalk, or you could use soap, whatever you like to mark with, it doesn't matter, and mark right on that line. So this is where the pins are on the right side of the fabric. I'm on the inside of the garment. So that's where I drew the line. I only drew just a little bit. So let me show you when I take these pins out, you will see exactly how much you need to take these in. And wait a minute, one more pin. So let me lay this back over here. See how much she wanted it taken in? So she wanted it all the way to the top. So what I would do is I would draw like this. And you can do this on yourself. And that's where I wanted to take them in. And she also wanted her legs narrowed just a bit. So basically this is another 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. If you choose to do this, please baste it, because then you can take a seam out very easily. If you choose to do that and go all the way to the bottom when you hem your paint, or when you take this alteration in, you also need to do it on the inside leg seam. So I would come up, and I'll draw this for you, because she liked the width of the leg at the top of the leg, just not at the bottom. So I would come in another 5/8 of an inch and come all the way up and taper it in. This is your decision. You get to determine what's comfortable to you and what's not. If you've worn pants all your life, go put on a pair of pants that you think are comfortable and kind of fashion the bottom of the leg after that. I'm interested in the fit from the waist to the hip area. So that's how we're going to alter the pattern, or the pants. Now in a minute we're going to alter the pattern. Now remember I told you in the back of her pants they were too big. So let's go to the back of her pants, and this is the back, and this is the crotch part of it. And I'm going to do something that they do in men's pants. This is kind of like a man's tailoring trick. I'm going to come up and go just like this. If you've looked in the back of any men's pants, you will see this alteration. And I don't know why they've always given men more area or more room in the waist than they gave us. But this is just taking in the waist, but it's taking out a lot of that fullness. So now let's put in the elastic. Now let's put the elastic in. Now remember I told you to fold the two edges together and zigzag it, and you can see that this has been zigzagged. You have a circle of elastic. You're going to quarter the circle. Your pants are already quartered. You have a center back, which you'll put a pin in like this, and you have a center front, and you have two side seams. So that's what you're going to line it up with. Now we're going to talk about pants that have a zipper and a waistband in just a minute. So these are pull-on. And you can stop right here and make them with a zipper and waistband, but I'm going to finish the elastic and then I'll go back to that. So you can see how small the elastic is versus how much fabric you've got. So when you start sewing, you're going to start right at the back and you're going to stretch the elastic to meet the amount of fabric below it. Now when you stretch the elastic, make sure you hold it in front and in back of your sewing machine needle, because if you simply put your needle in and pull, you're going to break your needle. So you're going to sew 4 rows all the way around, and when they're all sewn in, they're going to look like that. And you're ready to wear your pants except for the hem. Now Barbara has her pants all finished. They look gorgeous, and are they comfortable?
Very much.
But let me tell you that once they're all finished and you're happy with them, wear them before you alter your pattern, because next time I'm going to show you that. Now Barbara has pockets in her pants, and at the end of this video you will find another video that tells you how to put in pockets, flat front zipper, side pockets like this, U-shaped pockets. So you'll have that video for you to follow. On the PDFs you will have the patterns for all the pockets, so don't think you don't have something. Make sure that you print all that off. You look great. Yay. Thank you. Now I'm going to show you how to alter your pattern. Barbara's finished with her pants. She's worn them to the grocery store. Yay, she loves them. So I'm going to show you how to finish her pattern. Now, if you remember when Barbara put the elastic on top of her pants and she had all that stuff above it, what you need to do is to draw a line at the top of that elastic. Then all of this stuff that is left over, that's what's going to be taken off of your pattern. So draw a line, take your pants off, draw another line 5/8 of an inch above the line that you just drew. That's what gets folded to the inside to put the elastic into. So anything that's left over, that's your crotch depth. You can see that's what makes these pants comfortable. Some of you may have your pants pulled all the way up to here. Some of you may have your pants down to back there in the back. Some of you may have a funny look on the sides. It doesn't matter because it's your crotch depth, not anybody else. So again, put your pants on, put the elastic on, draw a line at the top of the elastic, take them off, draw another line 5/8 of an inch above, cut off any excess. That's what you're going to take back to your pattern to cut off. So really, really simple to do. So on the side seams, let me show you how to alter the side seams. What I'm going to do is, I'm sure that you probably knew this, but I'm going to tell you again. Most tape measures are 5/8 of an inch wide. Remember, our seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch wide. So what I'm going to do, if you can see the pink stitching, that's where Barbara did it and she was comfortable. So she liked the alteration after she did the pink stitching. So no matter what color you use, it doesn't matter. I'm going to lay the tape measure next to the stitching, and I'm going to draw a line like this, and I've got my yellow chalk again so that you can see. And I suggest you connect these like this, all the way up and all the way down. Now let me show you. Barbara didn't want her leg altered. She didn't want the width of the leg altered. So can you see that went right back into no taking that in at all? That stayed exactly the same. So it doesn't matter how you alter the pants themselves. Go back and make sure you still have a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Cut on that yellow line. Take this piece that you're cutting off back to your pattern, cut it off your pattern, and you're ready to go. Now let's cut the top off. You saw Barbara with her pants on and they were finished and they looked absolutely gorgeous. But before she ever put that elastic into the pants, you need to remove the top part of what was left over. Now, if you remember, Barbara put her pants on, she put the elastic over the top, pulled it up until it was comfortable, comfortable in the crotch, comfortable in the length and everything, and then she drew a line at the top of the elastic. Took the pants off, drew another line 5/8 of an inch above the line she just drew, and then she cut on that second line. So let me show you, when you cut this off the top, that's what she removed from the top front of her pants, and then she removed it from the back of her pants. So I want you to see how different this angle is. But that's Barbara. That's what was comfortable on Barbara. Some of you will have a totally different angle on your pants. Again, as I said, some will have a lot left over in the front, nothing left over in the back. Totally, totally up to you and to the way your pants fit. So now once we have cut this off, we're going to take these pieces back, these pieces and the ones we cut off the side, back to our pattern and alter the pattern for our second pair of pants. Now, had Barbara altered the inside leg seam, we would be doing the same thing. Now, this is what you want to keep in mind. And this is the width of the leg. We're going back down to the width of the leg. If you remember, I told you that Barbara liked the width of the leg. I didn't alter anything down in here. That would be the width of the leg. But had she decided she didn't like that width, she wanted to take it in, would be very simple. You would measure, again, from that grain and crease line. I'm going to draw a line where you could literally cut off. So if I cut this off here, I have to cut it off of there, because if you don't, or if you aren't equal from about, I would say 6 or 7 inches from the bottom, or from the bottom up, if you're not equal, your pants aren't going to hang straight. So you want to make sure that it's equal on both sides of that green and crease line. Now we're going to alter the top. Now I've already cut off the side. You could have done this before or after, doesn't matter. And you won't have any problem because the back is smaller than the front, so they will go on. So this is the back, as you can see. Let me pull this one out like this. This is my center back, and I know that because I drew on it. So can you see that's going to fit there? Again, you would draw this line, and you would cut on that line. because that's what you're cutting off. That's your crotch depth. And you can see that's your perfect crotch depth because it's done in fabric. No, nobody ever has one straight across. You're all going to dip in one place or another. So keep that in mind, and don't be upset if your line goes like this. Some lady told me she looked like the road map of New York. So that's your front. Again, you would draw on that line, and you would cut on that line and cut all that excess off, and you are ready for pair number 2. So you've done all the tricks. You've put on your pants, put the elastic over the top, and all that kind of stuff. So you fitted the waist area and you fitted the hip area. And you say to yourself, but I don't want to make pull-on pants. I want a zipper in these pants. You can still put a zipper in the pants you just made. Don't put the elastic in, obviously. You still need to remove all that stuff at the top of your pattern or your pants. But you can put a zipper into a seam. You can put it in the side seam, center back, or whatever. If you want a fly front zipper, you can't put them in these pants because you need a box on the fly front zipper. You'll see that on the directions. You'll see that in the video that you're going to watch next about the pockets and zipper. But let me show you a little trick about centered zippers if you're going to put one in the center back. And this is the greatest little trick in the world. First of all, this is French Fuse. French Fuse is a tricot interfacing. I sell it on my website. It comes 60 inches wide in 3 different colors, beige, black, and white. If you will just put a strip of French Fuse where you're going to put the zipper, your zipper is going to be a lot better. So I've basted this, I put the French Fuse on and I basted this seam together. I'm going to take my zipper, I'm going to take my handy dandy glue stick, and I'm going to put glue on the zipper tape, finger press it in place like this, then turn the garment over where you can actually see where you're sewing and sew a box on the outside. Then there is no guesswork whatsoever. You have a perfectly centered zipper. When you open your basting stitch, can you see how beautiful that zipper is? So gluing the zipper in is just a really great trick. If you're going to do the zipper, then you're going to have darts because you can't have any gathers around your waist. So let me give you a little hint about darts. There are darts on the pattern, and I'm sure that you saw those darts, and there are 2 darts. Some of you that are tiny across the back, if you've taken that man's tailoring thing that I talked about, you took that center back seam in just a little bit, you may only need 1 dart. What I would suggest you do is to baste all 4 darts in. Try your pants back on again, because you don't want any fullness at the top of those pants whatsoever if you're going to put a waistband on. When you do a dart, never back tack at the bottom of a dart, just sew off. Make sure you press your darts really well to the inside so they're pressed into the center seam and you have beautiful darts in the back of your pants. I would suggest if you're at home doing this all by yourself that you take a piece of chalk once you have your pants on and mark where the fullest part of you is. That's how long you want the dart to be. I'd much rather you have the dart too short than have the dart too long because it's going to look funny if it's too long. But you can mark that on yourself. So that's just one of the little tricks of darts. Again, baste the dart in and try them on before you put a waistband in, before you put a zipper in, all that other kind of stuff. So absolutely baste those in. Now let's talk just a little bit about waistbands, because waistbands are one of those wonderful things that a lot of you like. And I want to show you my favorite waistband. This waistband is cut on the bias of the fabric, so that will stretch. Now the advantage to a bias waistband is that if you do have anything at the top that needs to be taken in slightly, you can stretch this on while you are stitching it to the pants, and it will pull in the top of the pants to make them tight. One of the hardest part, I would say, about putting a waistband on is that top of their pants needs to be tight, because once you put that waistband on, that's it. So you want to make sure that you literally, if you want to use a bias waistband, you can. Nice thing about a bias waistband is that whole thing can be turned to the inside and you have no waistband showing at all. So again, totally up to you. So let's go back to that elastic that Barbara had on the top of her pants, and let's just say that Barbara decided she was going to put darts in there and she was going to put a waistband on. So Barbara would draw a line at the bottom of the elastic, not at the top of the elastic, and then when she cuts off all this stuff that was left over, she would cut on that line. Reason being, that elastic you saw on Barbara, the white elastic, that would be your waistband. Now you've got to support that waistband in some way. You saw that I put French fuse on the bias one. This is a product that you can find at most local fabric stores, and it's just it's more like a interfacing specifically for waistbands. I like it because it has these notches, and that gives you a perfect fitting waistband every time, but it gives you a really clean one. Follow the directions on the package for putting your waistband on. There is no waistband pattern in the pattern. Reason being is you need the top of you. So whatever the top of your pants measures, that's how long your waistband is going to be. So if you've made your pants and the top of your pants all sewn together, all darted out, everything ready to go, let's just say it measures 30 inches, I would cut a strip of fabric that would be 4 inches wide and 32, 34 inches long, because you want to have something to overlap for a button and buttonhole or for a hook, whichever you choose to do. So that's your waistband. Now I want to talk about this product because I love this product and I've talked about it many times before. This is French fuse. A lot of fabrics nowadays have Lycra in them, which personally I'm thrilled. And this is a southern word, scunch. The Lycra gives you a scunch of room. And that has nothing to do with fitting, that's just your comfort level. You find denim with Lycra, corduroy with Lycra, all those different fabrics come with Lycra. So if you feel like you want just a little bit more give to the fabric, choose those fabrics. You don't need to change your pattern, just choose those fabrics. But if you actually choose a knit, and you want to make dress pants out of a knit fabric. This fabric is called Sophia, and these are dress pants. If you decide you want to do that, may I suggest that you put French fuse on the fabric? The reason being, these pants will not get a butt. You know, when you wear a knit and you sit in it all day long, you get like bubbles in the butt area and bubbles in the knee area because the warmth of your body forces that knit to kind of give just a little bit. If you use French fuse, if you put French fuse on the fabric, that's not going to happen. So the easiest way to do this is to cut out your front and back and do this one at a time. Lay it on your ironing board with the wrong side up. Lay a large piece of the French fuse, and it's glue on one side. You'll be able to feel it on the back side of the pants, and then you're going to put your iron down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. That's going to stick the French fuse to it. Trim away the excess, and then you can steam it on really, really good. Now, one question I get asked all the time, does this make your pants hot? I'm going to say no, and I wear them all the time. I'm going to say no because the pants aren't really tight. They're more like dress pants. But I like it because it keeps the knees from bulging and it keeps your butt from having a bubble in it. So I'm going to say I like this. Would I put it on all my knit pants? No, because you're adding extra cost to your pants. But if I'm going to make dress knit pants, I want them to look creased, I want them to stay creased, and I want them to look neat the whole time. So make you a pair of pants and send me a picture.